it's time to blow this scene. Get everybody in the stuff together. Okay, 3, 2, 1, let's jam.
Okay, and hello everybody, and welcome to the People's Podcast number 22. Yes, folks, I can't really imagine how I got to 22 episodes. Today's title, The Last Scene to Surrender.
I want to know how to fix. I want to know the place where my soul is burning out. In order to draw to.
Yeah, like that. You'll see what I'm getting at. You'll see where I'm getting at with that title, anyway. But like that, much editing later. And anyway, I've got two excellent guests with me, and actually an exclusive. I got JPJ and I got ORF. How you doing, guys?
Very good, thank you.
Hey, mate.
Okay. First thing, before I begin anything else, JPJ, you're alive.
Yes, yeah, I'm alive.
Yeah, because do you know what the funny thing was? Yeah, I was briefly talking. Yeah, I was briefly talking to one of your boys, Dazza, and it was like, yeah, like they were on a stream chat, and then somebody mentioned, I think it was Slarty Barfast, otherwise known as Demo, said JPJ's alive.
Yeah, rumours of my death are greatly exaggerated, I think.
Oh, cool. Anyway, but like that, I think I've said this 3 times, but yeah, shout out to Dazza. Like I said, he was an excellent host when, popped around his...
Is it Staffordshire Showdown?
Yeah, I was over there. I remember meeting you there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
yeah. That's what confused you when I was wearing glasses then, wasn't it?
Yeah, but we're getting ahead of ourselves. But like I said, but like I said, shout out to my man Dazza, because I know I've said this 3 times, but he's actually one of my influences, because it's a case of, again, I think of myself as a hardcore person. I've got Saturns, I've got, because obviously I'm quite old, I've got most of the old consoles, but Dazza, he's got a bloody arcade in his bedroom.
Yeah, has he still got that?
I'm not sure, but I'm just thinking, because obviously I've been to his house, and I was thinking, okay, how the hell did he get up the stairs? Because those stairs were mighty narrow.
Yeah, it's a classic cab, isn't it? He's got.
Yeah, and he had a gaming table. Yeah, like I said, he didn't have a normal joystick setup. He turned the table into a little arcade cab. Put a CCR on top of it. And I just,
yeah, 3S. I remember that.
Yeah, and I just thought, oh my god, this is a true fighting game fan. It's like everyone else I've met up until now. Well, what have they got? They got a T joystick. They play it on a laggy HD TV. Get the F out of there.
Yeah. See, I've got 3 TVs at home, and they're all CRTs. I think my house is
old school.
My house is like a time warp in the 90s. I think when you walk through the front door.
Yeah, like I said, we're going to get onto that bit. So, in alphabetical order, I think that's you, JPJ. So, bruv, who are you and where you're from precisely?
Yeah, well, my name's Chris. I'm originally from Scandinavia, and we came over to the UK when I was about 10. I first started playing Street Fighter 2, probably Champion Edition, when that came out in the arcades.
Oh, wow.
So it's quite... Well, I'll say I'm about 29 now, so getting on a little bit. But I didn't really take it seriously till about 2008, something like that, and then playing GGPO and started to sort of meet people offline for sessions and stuff like that as well.
Oh, okay. That's nice and brief. I like that, because I'm glad you made the 90s short, because I don't know if you've listened to my previous podcasts, but every time I talk about the 90s, I think the shortest I've got them down to was about 30 or 40 minutes.
Well, the 90s was good, don't get me wrong. So, I mean, I played a lot of fighting games sort of through the late 90s, early 2000s, but that's just sort of casual back in the days when you sort of had to go on GameFAQs and download like a 15-page text file. Do you know what I mean? Going on combovideos.com and getting like some dodgy 5 meg MPEG file and stuff like that.
Oh wow, I remember that GameFAQ, before I discovered that forums were actually better. Yeah.
I think that was 3 forums, wasn't it? About 2001, 2002, something like that.
Yeah, but I don't know what it was. For whatever weird reason, I just went on GameFAQs because, well, everyone did, because it was just more convenient until you actually discovered there were dedicated forums for whatever games, but yeah, whatever, we learn. Anyway, the other question for you before we move on to ORF. So, what other games? Because obviously, like I said, we'll get onto that in a minute. But what other games did you play the most and enjoyed?
I was quite into, well, I didn't really play games when I was sort of a teenager, really. I didn't really get back into it until I was about 18 or so. So a lot of the games I play are sort of old school 2D arcade stuff from what I remember being young. So that's a lot of 2D shooter maps, scrolling games, puzzle games, those kind of things. I'm not really, like, I don't have an Xbox or a PS3 or anything like that. I think I've got a PS2, a Dreamcast, a Sega Saturn, and a Super Gun.
I quite like how you consider a Super Gun a console with...
Well, I've probably got like 20 arcade boards, and I think all my console boards are maybe 10 games, something like that. Playing Fist of the North Star recently from 2005, and that's like a new game for me.
Oh, wow! That's like a new game. That's like that's like 7 years old. Oh no! And oddly enough, that's actually, I think that's like one of the most convoluted arcade games ever made.
Going from Street Fighter 2 to Fist of the North Star was like doing a PhD. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, that's kind of an understatement. Okay. The other point was then your role in the FGC. I believe you ran a couple of fighting game tournaments. Was it Thunder Kicks or something like that?
Yeah. Well, I used to be on another forum called Arcade Otaku, which is sort of like home arcade hobbyists, where people sort of collect boards and trade stuff. And there's a Japanese guy on there, and I used to talk to him quite a lot about Street Fighter. And he said, well, if you want to run a tournament, just go to your local arcade and ask him to put a poster up. And it's weird because you kind of... We think of the other places in the world a bit like ourselves, and they must do the same. So trying to explain there are no arcades, not really, in the UK. And he said, well, you should just run your own sessions then. And then that's sort of when I signed up to Neo and started doing that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, geography-wise, whereabouts were you doing with this?
We're Gloucester, UK, so that's home of Fred West. Fred West.
He was pretty good at ST, I
hear. Okay. I don't know if this gets better than...
win streak.
I'm not sure if this gets better than Raoul Moat, because obviously Hanno Shroom sort of monopolized that. Yeah, monopolized that because apparently he was like one of the best Dalsim players. And I'm thinking, okay, a keep away projector. Yeah, let's not go there.
Yeah.
Yeah, Gloucester. Yeah. You got quite a couple of famous people down there. Well, famous in our circles. We've got the infamous Insert Sheep, and we've got Ravage Z, and I think I had this rather funny conversation I had with Ravage Z. Like, apparently, yeah, you do have a sort of... Yeah, there was actually a Gloucester sub-forum in the Neo Empire, but the funny thing is, I think all four of you guys, you literally go into different directions of the country.
Yeah. Well, you've got Bristol is sort of down south from us, probably about 40 minutes drive. And then you've got Cardiff West, which is probably about another 45 minutes.
Yeah,
like that,
and then Birmingham North, so we're right in the middle.
Yeah, so it's quite easy to get to a lot of stuff, yeah.
Yeah, but the whole point was it was kind of funny that there is a kind of a local Gloucester scene, but all four of you don't technically ever play the same games.
No, probably not even met each other.
I don't know who they are.
Yeah, I know, but
like 2 years to meet DNA, I think.
Yeah.
He lives like 10 miles from where I live.
Yeah, so he's from round here as well, and he's got his own website, Grandmaster Challenge.
Yeah. He's Forest of Dean, so that's about 15 minutes.
Yeah, something
west,
like that.
Something like that. It's pretty local.
Okay then. Okay, now we're going to rewind this back. So then, ORF, who are you and where are you from?
Hey, I'm Joe. Originally from sort of Surrey area, but we've moved all around and ended up in Gloucester when I was probably about 7, something like that. Been here ever since. Apart from just recently, where I've been going to work, university, all that stuff. Always been into games from when I was a kid because my brother's about 11 years older than me. So he'd always have the latest consoles, the latest games, and I just, have a great time just playing them all with him. So he always loved Street Fighter 2. That's where it started. I remember Street Fighter 2 on the SNES. Yeah, that's sort of when my first experience with it, and I was always playing on the pad. And that's all we did. We played casual games for years, on and off, on the pad. I remember Super Turbo on 3DO.
Hold up. Did you you actually had a 3DO?
Yeah, my brother had, like I was saying, had all the latest consoles. He's mad into his games. He had Super Turbo. I remember we played on there. I think it was really...
Yeah, funny you should mention that. I mean, again, we're getting way ahead of ourselves, but apparently that is actually one of the best console versions of Super Turbo.
That's what they're running at Evo, isn't it?
Yeah, probably is. That's the next stage. But yeah, I remember all of that, and then I didn't really get into ST properly until uni, and just picked up GGPO, just gave it a go. I remember originally I was on pad, and then started playing with stick. Everyone on there was like, you got to play with stick, and I just got completely hooked. Just enjoyed playing that on there. Everyone was pretty cool. Everyone would help each other out, and yeah, started from there really, and then just entered tournaments and just carried on from there.
Okay, so again, I'm just curious. Besides, obviously, the title of this show, were there really any other game that caught your eye and you played? And
so not really any other fighting games. I just played them casually, like Tekken, those sort of games. But I didn't take any up properly. The only other game I was really into was actually Counter-Strike. So that's first-person shooter on PC.
Oh, yeah.
And I used to be well into that with my mates. But no other fighting games really.
Okay. Okay. There's no shame in that, because at the end of the day, that just sort of shows all that work paid off, then, didn't it?
Yeah. I think it's better when people stick to one game, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, it's just something with ST clicked. Whereas I've played all the other games. I've tried to get since I got into ST a bit more and got into the fighting game community, met some people. I played a bit of Third Strike, Street Fighter 4. But there's just something about ST which I kind of just click with and just sort of makes more sense to me than some of the other games.
Oh yeah,
so that's the only reason, really.
Oh yeah, ditto. And again, we'll definitely dig into that in greater depth. And so, what's your role in the FGC? You're just a godlike player then?
Just
not really godlike.
Just comes up, wins the tournament, takes your money, goes home.
Yeah, that's all I do. I just take part in the tournaments. And that's it really. Kind of started off. I think my first tournament was when I went to SVB, 2009. Then I've been to Thunderkick, most of them. I think maybe one I missed.
Yeah.
And I just generally go around and play games. Been abroad a few times to play. And that's it really.
Ooh, okay, we're going to save that for the finale, because obviously, you went abroad, and you annoyed a certain friend of mine.
Did I? Who's that?
Big Boss. Jason, black guy, plays Guile.
Oh, Big Boss, yeah. Did I annoyed him, did I? What did I do?
You used Fei Long, but I do distinctly remember, but that's okay, because I distinctly remember you annoying Rudy, because I do remember, back at that Staffordshire showdown, everyone was playing ST, but when you were playing ST, it looked as though it was like 3 grades higher than everyone else's.
That's a fair comment.
Maybe, I don't know. I think a lot of people there as well, that it's either not their main game or they're playing other games, and I think that's the thing with sort of ST now is a lot of people who used to main ST, they've either stopped, they've got families, they stopped playing. So generally, a lot of people now enter tournaments just play on the side. So maybe that's why. Whereas I just play this in one game.
Okay, and now time to the main meat of the show, because obviously we're through with the introductions. Yep, the last scene to surrender. Or full title, Last Scene to Surrender, or Super Turbo is godlike.
Super Turbo, the scene that exists entirely in my house.
Yeah, maybe.
Oh, no, it may only exist entirely in your house, but it's, again, funny enough, right to my first point. Now, let's face it, Super Turbo is a very, very important game, because, let's face it, so many fighting games have come and gone, but very few, literally, very few, are still being played today, even though the numbers are whatever, and it's 16 years old. You wrap your head around that. You just think about it. How many fighting games have come out in 16 years?
Yeah,
that's true.
And how many of them will honestly be played in 16 years' time?
I think with SBO, I think they got it right. I think ST, probably Third Strike, Guilty Gear. There's a few games that I think that kind of stand the test of time.
Yeah, it's true. Guilty Gear is definitely of that class. It's only about 4 years younger, but still, ST. Wow.
Yeah. Sort of started it all, really, I suppose, isn't it?
I think it's because it's easy to learn. I think anyone can kind of learn it quite easily, but I think the mind games are what make it satisfying, because it's quite simple, but at the same time, there's always more layers to everything you learn.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's a really quick game as well. So the rounds are over really quick. It's pretty fast paced compared with some of the other fighters out there.
Yeah.
So it's quite interesting to watch as well.
And I think the character roster is good as well. I think because you don't really get tier hoarding, I think, as much in ST. Because I think it's more matchup based rather than tier based. So other than maybe one or two characters, I think all the characters in the game are quite interesting in their own way, and they're all a little bit unique. It's not one of these games where there's like 3 or 4 good characters, and then everyone else is crap. If you know what I mean.
That was a bit of a shame with 3S really as well.
Yeah, funny you should mention that because everybody has said this. Because obviously, like yourselves, I'm a bit of an old man. I'm actually a little bit older than you guys, and classified, my true age will never be revealed. But the irritating thing is, if you listen to all my podcasts, there's kind of a massive hint of what it is. No, not that old.
And the interview now.
Much editing later, but anyway. But like I said, just to fill people in for the bizarre off chance nobody knows what the hell we're talking about. Now, Super Turbo, obviously, technically its full title is Super Street Fighter. Yeah, what was it? Yeah, Super Turbo, or technically in Japan it was called Grandmaster Challenge.
Yeah,
which
I think they call it 2X now.
They call it 2X for short in Japan, and in some place in Europe like France. But here we just stick with ST.
Yeah. And for those that really do not know the difference between all the old derivatives of Street Fighter 2, obviously it was the second iteration of the new Super Street Fighter where you had the 4 new characters, and they introduced... They introduced the Super Gauge, which kind of divided some people at the time, because obviously it was like, what the hell is this? This Super Bar?
Yeah, I think that happens with every game though, doesn't it? It kind of has this... It's out for a number of years. People get used to it. They make one change, and you're going to always have this group of people who hate that change.
But I think back in the 90s, though, you had SNK and Capcom kind of copying a lot of developments each other made in certain games, because I think SNK had the Supers first.
Yeah.
I think Capcom copied
Oh,
it.
did they?
I think so.
Yeah, but the thing is, obviously, if you know the history, you can't blame them, because obviously Street Fighter 1 was obviously created by a guy that eventually would move on to SNK. So
That's true.
So obviously you got a lot of ex-staff that were like going around their houses. So I don't know if you could technically say it was copying. In more so, you would technically say it was parallel development.
Yeah, you could say that, definitely.
When you kind of think about it, if you got 2 guys beating the crap out of each other on the other side of the street, there's only just so many things that you could think of how you could achieve said goal.
That's true.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting as well. I think with ST, a lot of the things through the development of Street Fighter 2, I think a lot of things came about by accident, didn't they?
Yeah, combos.
Yeah, combos, things like that. I think that's really cool.
When you get into it, there's so many weird, anomalous bugs.
Oh, yeah.
It's a really old game. Yeah.
That's part of the reason why it's so difficult to port it on console, because the code is... I think what they did is every version they've kind of taken the code from the previous arcade one and then layered more code on top. So by the time you get to ST, it's just such a jumbled...
Probably just a hacky mess.
Yeah, funny you should mention the word hack, because the other thing that really strikes me about ST or any noob that plays it is the game is mad fast. It's like, are you supposed to play it this fast? And everyone, and it's like, yeah, of course you're effing supposed to.
Yeah.
And you know why that happened? It's because obviously when people were playing around with World Warriors, they got bored, so a certain group of nefarious people decided to hack the board and make it faster than it should have been. Because if you go back and play the original World Warriors, that is quite a damn slow game. It's like
it is.
Well, apparently that's the reason why they brought out hyper fighting. Because there were so many bootleg Chinese champion editions.
Really?
Yeah. And the one thing they all had in common, the bootlegs, was sped up gameplay. So then, although there's some tweaks in hyper fighting, I think Capcom wanted to release another version to rival the bootlegs, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but in all honesty, the bootlegs, they were stupid. Was it Rainbow Edition, where you could fill the street with 5 fireballs, or...
Yeah, I've just seen videos of that.
Yeah.
And for no apparent reason, you could, if you start off with Sagat, you magically turn into Blanca.
I was talking to a friend of mine a while back, called Mo, and we were talking about bootleg Street Fighter 2s, and this guy, he always just sort of makes up random bullshit crap. and he tried telling me he used to play Street Fighter 2 Crazy Clan Edition, where the last boss was a king prawn.
Thing is, there probably is one out there.
It probably
right?
I don't know if that existed, but I definitely remember hearing that there was a version where the elephants in Dalsim's background could actually had a hitbox and they attacked you.
Oh, no, I don't believe that. I remember thinking for ages you could pick up the rock on Chun-Li's stage.
It looked like you
You'd hear rumours about that. Oh, yeah, there's a way you can do it. And you spent ages on the arcade trying to figure it out.
It's like, there are loads of rumours and things like that. Like, you know, the whole Shenlong thing with
yeah.
That was a famous sort of prank, wasn't it, or something? Like some
I think
April
Kurahashi
Fools.
is Shenlong. In real life.
Probably, that's what they're on about.
Oh, sick. But anyway, now that we've got the rough background, we now get on to, obviously, the whole title of the show. Now, have you ever heard this interesting story about the last Japanese soldier to surrender?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, no, literally, obviously, you know, World War II, obviously, it was that big war which, well, the whole world was fighting. There was one last soldier that he was the very, very last to surrender. Do you know what year it was he surrendered?
Go on.
1980. Now, the thing about...
You should have stuck it out.
Yeah, so once you've gone that far.
You should have gone time over.
No, but obviously, he had all that Bushido and whatever belief, because, well, obviously, the man was that dedicated to, obviously, fighting for his homeland that he didn't surrender until the 1980s and all that stuff. And the ST scene kind of, in my opinion, has that almost mad fanaticism because of the fact that, well, where do we start? Obviously, the next point being, you insist, this is probably the only, this scene and possibly, well, actually, definitely the Third Strike scene are the only ones that insist that it has to be played on the arcade. Now, how significant does it have to be the arcade version? It has to.
For me, I think my opinion changed quite a lot over a while, because I thought, initially playing GGPO, I thought that was quite good, but then that's probably because I didn't really play fighting games very much, and it was online, it's quite good. But the more you play offline, I think the more you realise that ST, you get to a point where it's very timing sensitive, like looking out for the startups of fireballs and things like that, that, I don't know, console ones, it's also the speeds. Like, we used to go to the Bristol Sodium Showdowns.
Mm-hmm.
You're playing one, say, Hyper Anniversary on Xbox or something, and then HDR 2 minutes later, and they just feel totally different. It's hard to explain
It's a
why.
really odd... Yeah, I mean, Super Turbo is really strange, isn't it? You play it one place, and then you play another place, and then it's like a completely different game. It's not like that with the new games like Super Street Fighter 4 or something. Wherever I play that, you know, it feels like Street Fighter 4.
Yeah.
You can't say, oh, this feels like a different game, but with ST you genuinely can.
It's the arcade one is weird because the stages are different speeds anyway. So you're playing on, say, the Honda stage, you're thinking it's so slow, and then you play on Vegas stage and it feels like twice as fast.
It's loads of weird stuff.
Very, very odd. And the console, to capture that, really, I think even console Hyper Anniversary, I think all the stages are the same speed. I think.
Okay, it's really that extreme because obviously, you know, I just hear all these different stories, like, you know, the infamous one being how Mike Watson got defeated by Darkside Phil, and obviously his excuse was obviously it was console version.
So I mean, the thing is, I guess some people are going to use it as a real excuse. I mean, if you're really that against console version, just don't enter the thing, to be honest. But,
things because we play arcade more than anything. I think you feel the difference. Whereas if you just played ST on GGPO or HDR, you would probably not think it that big a deal. I think.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like playing on arcade is a bonus. I still like playing on console version, but you know, if you can play on arcade, it's like the atmosphere as well. So I mean, when you go to a tournament which is all arcade, it feels just a bit more serious, and people are a bit more into it. It's just how it's always been played, isn't it? So because I guess the original game is back from the arcade scene. That's kind of, it's not like now where these are. Street Fighter 4 is sort of, I mean, it's an arcade game, but people started off on console and they're used to console, and maybe that's the difference. I don't know.
Well,
we were looking at my Japanese boards because, you know, I don't know if you know CPS2 ones. They got like a little credit counter at the back of the boards. And I think since I bought mine in 2008, it's had something like 13,000 games played on it. I think that's mostly just me and Joe. Probably.
Blimey. But again, just thinking about it now, because obviously, again, even going back to the whole point of how important ST is, because it's like, you know, if I wanted to right now, I could get on my bike, ride all the way to casinos, and yeah, there'd be an ST machine inside, and for whatever bizarre reason, and it's like, if there's a Street Fighter machine that's still around, it's going to be an ST machine.
Yeah, which is a bit weird because, well, from my memory in the 90s, well, I was living in Belgium when Street Fighter 2 came out, so, and for me, I remember there was a period when Street Fighter kind of got overtook by a lot of the other companies. I don't actually remember seeing an ST arcade machine in the mid-90s. I think Mortal Kombat was bigger.
They were quite expensive as well when they had the ST machines.
Yeah,
So
I
maybe
think
that
Street
put
Fighter
people
kind
off.
of waned a little bit,
Yeah.
sort of mid-90s. I think ST has kind of not had a renaissance, but I think it's taken people a long time to realise that it was one of the best versions. I know some people still say sort of Hyper Fighting is better, but it's kind of endured. It hasn't always been massively popular, I don't think, ST.
Yeah, but again, it's one of those games that has been always fondly spoken of, because even what was it? Whenever I was like reading text, everyone was saying, "Yeah, what night? Much editing later." Yeah, like I said, these shows are actually edited. That's the reason why they're not live. What was I saying? Because a lot of people would like to say, when they say a game is balanced, they say, KOF 98 is like our answer to Super Turbo in that it's a balanced game.
Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, ST in terms of balance, I think it's not the most balanced game, probably, is it?
I don't think balance is that important, really. Because, like I said, I think the thing with ST is it's more about matchups. So it depends
It's
what
sort of
characters
knowledge,
you
isn't
play.
it? Yeah.
But
Okay.
even some of the generally strong characters will have good and bad matchups. I think the only character who's good generally across the board in all matchups is probably Vega.
Yeah.
I think everyone else kind of has good and bad.
Yeah, it sort of evens itself out, but then you've got some of the lower tiers. But I mean, the thing is with ST, it's really funny. So you'd have someone like T-Hawk, who is always known as a really crap, low-tier character. And then, some guy in Japan came up with all these crazy options.
Yes, I think I saw it on Ultra Chen a while back. The infamous, basically you get them in a corner, you're pretty much dead.
Yeah, I mean, And so
I've got a thread on Neo, I think, called Killer T-Hawk, and it's that Neo Ray guy from GTPO doing all that stuff with like buffer dragon punches and.
I know,
yeah.
So I find that amazing that that was years after release. It just shows that every character, like Chris, you were saying earlier, they're all unique and they've got good points and bad points.
Yeah, even the what are considered bad characters can fuck you up really.
It might be because it's a fast, high damage game. So take someone like Blanca playing Ryu. I mean, that's really tough for Blanca. But if he gets his one jump in, that's basically a touch of death. Go in, dizzy, another combo, and that's the end of the round. So that means there's always, there's always
a chance to win.
Yeah, exactly.
Definitely, because didn't play it recently, but when I was around Jericho's place, I was playing ST, and it was like, I mean, even though because obviously it's a Street Fighter game, and actually I'm trying to remember now, did I actually even play ST back in the day? Because I think sadly I was one of the many people that just sort of gravitated towards the more newer games like Alpha and the EX series and Third Strike. But I was like, as I was playing it was like, wow, this game is just mad fun, and I can't quite work out why. It's like I could be reduced to near no life, but then in a couple of moves, it's then back to business, and then it's like, yeah.
And supers can take off 70% of damage if you just land a super.
Never mind.
If you're lucky, but I think that kind of, because some people don't like supers. Personally, I think it's part of the game. I think it's not all of them are. I think the only two that are really good is probably Ryu and Balrog. I think the rest kind of you either have to combo into them, make a good guess, do it on reaction. Do you know what I mean? I don't think they kind of ruin the game, but I think it's good that you can even the score up quite quickly in ST with just a couple of good reads and a couple of good combos.
Oh like that for sure. And it's like, because I was always curious because there was this guy down in Casino. It's called Richard. I don't know if he'll ever hear this. And it was like he said it himself that ST doesn't need no comeback mechanics. And I was wondering, really? I was always wondering how that could be. And it's like, as I was playing the game, it's like, oh yeah, you're right. The damage is naturally high, and well, actually, it's funny you should mention that. Apparently, this game has random damage. Could you actually explain that?
Yeah, I think there are windows or sort of brackets, if you like. So it's not just damage. I think it's damage.
There's a lot of randomness. Yeah. Even
input windows. So say if
Yeah.
if you're doing a sonic boom, you charge back and you do forward and punch. there's a certain window of time, and that window can kind of fluctuate in itself. So you can charge and do a sonic boom exactly as you did before, but the game decides actually you needed to charge back 39 frames this time rather than 37 or something stupid.
Yeah.
You what?
Yeah, tell me about it.
I know. It's just loads of randomness basically in most of the game, and you get things like Ryu could do a combo of I think 2 crouching shorts into super, and I think that randomly doesn't work half the time or something like that.
It's a 50% thing.
And I think, doesn't it go back to the fact that if you play it on Turbo Zero, that's the only time you get no frame skipping, and then when you increase the speed, you get frame skipping, so I'm not sure if that adds to...
Yeah, if you ever watch any ST combo videos, they're almost always done at Turbo Zero, because if you increase the speed, some combos will randomly not work because of the frame skipping.
Yeah, that's right.
Turbo 2 or Turbo 3.
Yeah.
Okay, that baffles me now. So, ST, this pillar of this literal pillar of gaming has random stuff in it, which we in the FGC, frown upon. That sort of, I hate to even use the. I can't even. It pains me to.
It's not random. Like I say, it's kind of within certain limits.
Okay.
You can feel when someone's about to get dizzy.
Okay, but
you may not know exactly.
Yeah.
How many hits it's going to take.
It can be pretty extreme though, especially with damage.
Yeah, damage can be. Yeah.
But it doesn't seem to affect the game when you're playing it. You just sort of accept it. And sometimes I remember, in some games, you'll think you're going to survive. A Dragon Punch can just take the rest of your life, and you think, oh, what the hell?
Yeah.
But then you just move on and you play the next game. It's just. I think it's just a bit accepted.
I think there's Ken, Sagat, and Sin can't do reversal supers. I think.
Yeah,
as well. So if you do like a reversal super with Ken, you get his last special move come out instead. So if your last special move was an air hurricane, you do a reversal super after getting knocked down. You do an air hurricane on the spot, on the floor.
Seriously? I've never seen that.
Yeah. Kareem used to do that a lot on GGPO.
So yeah, there's a lot of kind of glitches and bugs and loads of weird shit in ST.
But we like that.
Yeah.
Again, it just baffles me. And again, I really don't want to put these to do the same thing. That almost sounds like Smash business, where you're putting in random factors, but as you say, it's minor randomness, which is good.
Yeah, I think it's all glitches in the codes from how the game is made, unfortunately. But it's weird because say if you get HD remix or console versions, they
we're gonna that's gonna be a big one. Much editing later, but where was I? Yeah, no, he deserves his own section because apparently he's the Antichrist. But anyway, like I said, much editing.
Yeah. As well.
Like that, much editing later. But yeah, just to finish off the arcade version. But like I said, the scene is quite hardcore. I mean, let's say you need a CPS2 board, and from what I heard, I don't know if you said it or if somebody else said it. Not only does it has to be the genuine CPS2 board, none of this so-called Hong Kong Phoenix sort of rip-off.
It's a bit. I don't want to sort of go into too much.
Oh no, please do. I'm intrigued.
So CPS2, if you've never seen them, they're like little. They're sort of green boards, probably about 1.5 feet long.
Yeah, I've seen them. They're about the size of my laptop. Yeah.
Yeah, they're quite big, and they got a suicide battery in as well. So if you don't change the battery in it, they die after about 5 years because Capcom was so heavily pirated on the CPS1 versions.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of went overkill for CPS2 and CPS3 a little bit. So what people did is after a while they came up with Phoenix ROMs, which means if the board dies, you can revive it. But unfortunately, a lot of that stuff has started floating around the internet. You don't really get it with ST, you get it more with Hyper Anniversary, because Hyper Anniversary is a lot more expensive.
Mm-hmm.
And you get a lot of bootleg ones that might look like Phoenix ones, but they're actually sort of some Frankenstein hack jobs. So you kind of got to be a bit careful if you're buying expensive arcade hardware. Same with MVS, actually. MVS has got loads of bootlegs floating around on Neo Geo and stuff. It's not good. But with ST, I mean, my Japanese board probably cost about 60 quid, something like that. So they're not that expensive. You spend more, I think, on the Super Gun, getting the arcade sticks, or if you want to buy a cabinet and stuff like that as well, that's when you're talking sort of hundreds of pounds. But the actual boards aren't really that expensive. They've been going up a bit because Arcade ST seems to be coming back. And a lot of tournaments seem to be running the arcade.
Can you see that in the prices then when you look?
Yeah, I think they're going up because I think more and more people are importing them from Japan.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I used to think they were about 50, 60 quid, and nowadays they're like 100 plus and stuff like
that. Really?
Yeah.
Okay, but I'm just intrigued. So why is it important to get the original CPS2 and not a Phoenix one?
Well, if it's a genuine one and it's Phoenix, it's not a problem because they just play exactly the same. It's just that the chips are slightly amended so it won't ever suicides. The trouble is, if it's an expensive board, you'd have to be a bit careful to see if it's an actual proper ST board or hyper anniversary board, or if it's someone has done it with lots of EPROMs and stuff like that, and it's a bootleg one, because then you'll have graphical glitches and sound glitches, and you'll feel like you're playing Rainbow Edition or something.
Oh, okay, so...
Genuine Phoenix ones, they're okay, they're just less... They've probably got less resale value because they're not original, and the only way you can make a board Phoenix is to kill it in the first place. So I kind of don't agree when people buy a board and then they Phoenix it, because I think, well, it only costs you £5 to buy a battery and solder it in. It's, it takes about 2 minutes, rather than hacking the board up and sending it to some dude in Finland to install some alternate ROMs.
What the? Finland?
Oh, have you never heard of Razula?
No.
Well, he's CPS2 Shock, the arcade site. I don't know if you've ever seen that. But he's the guy who made the Phoenix ROMs initially.
Oh my god, we have...
Back in the day, what you'd have to do is take out the chips of your board and post them to Finland, and then he would program them and post them you back, because he was worried about people stealing his, his decrypted files.
Like the Coca-Cola formula or something.
Yeah.
Oh my god, we have arcade board chop shots. That's sort of... That is that's a whole new level of hardcore I'm not even prepared for.
CPS3 is a lot worse, because with CPS2 you can take the battery out, and you've probably got about an hour to put a new battery and solder it in.
Bloody hell.
CPS3, as soon as you take the battery out, it dies straight away, so you have to wire another battery in in parallel, then take the other battery out, put it in, turn it off, turn it back on, and just hope for the best.
Oh, blimey.
So, yeah. I wouldn't want to do that, because, third strikes are probably about...
Probably it's expensive, isn't it?
Quadruple the price, of an ST board, and if you fuck it up, that's a lot of money down the drain.
Yeah.
Okay. And obviously we've got our genuine / not so genuine, but sort of still good enough, with it, CPS2 board. Then you have to get a super gun, which, I've seen, you can make out of a lunchbox pretty much.
Yeah, I've got a Japanese one, a Sigma one. They're quite good. I think the only thing to be careful with super guns is more voltages with arcade boards, because they can be quite sensitive. So if you have like a homebrew one that someone's kind of built themselves, it's the power supply, I think, is what you've got to be worried about, because if you give it too much voltage, you don't want to fry any of your boards or anything like that. But apparently they're quite simple to build. I've never done one myself though.
Okay, gotcha. And then the final ingredient obviously is a CTR TV, which I've only just realised they are really quite hard to get a hold of now, because it was only like 2 or 3 years ago that you could walk into any crappy cash converters and pick up a CTR. But I was like, in one trying to look for an old PS2, and it was like, blimey, everything's like flat screen now.
Yeah.
You come around my house.
Yeah, you got yeah. And they weigh so much as well, doesn't it? You get like a 21 inch, you break your back carrying that upstairs.
What I've got, because I play a lot of those 2D vertical shooter maps, I've got one that's on its sides, so that's always vertical, and one horizontal, and then I just kind of got these SCART selector things, because I used to flip my TV backwards and forwards, and it's the same thing if you've got an arcade cabinet. You've got to take the monitor out, flip it, put it back in. I can't be fucked with that these days, to be honest.
You just keep...
Yeah. I think the Egret 2 cabinets are apparently really good for that, because they've got like a rotate thing. A lot of the Sega arcade cabinets, say like Daz's cabinet, for example, you'd have to take the control panel off, take the monitor out, physically rotate it, and then put it back in.
Ooh, oh yeah. But like I said, I'm just thinking, wow, you got to do all this just to play ST, and then it's a case... And then it's a case of, well, obviously you're not going to get really far with the one machine, so you obviously then have to times it by how big your tournament is, and it's like, I see where this starts to become a logistical nightmare.
Yeah, that's it. So that's the good thing with console games. It's so easy, isn't it? You just have a few Xboxes set up.
Yeah, I can't remember when it was. There was some point around about mid-2000s where Evo officially switched to console, because they started out on arcade Evo back in like 2000.
Yeah.
And they got to a point, it might have been 2006 or something.
Some PS2 version, was it? No, what version were they using last, before they canned it?
Dreamcast, I think.
Was it Dreamcast?
Yeah, Dreamcast, but it's weird when you look at old Evo footage and there are just loads of people just stood around arcade cabinets that some poor persons had to wheel into their whichever venue they used and stuff.
Funny thing is, in Japan, they're still mad on the arcades and stuff. It's completely different. They've still got that. You look at pictures of that, because in Japan you'll have certain nights in certain arcades where you get all the top players going. And if you see pictures from that, they've got so many setups, and it's packed full of people playing it. It's pretty cool.
Oh yeah.
X-mania, I think they had something like 18 ST cabs.
Yeah, that's awesome. And like,
ooh, bloody hell! Okay, we're getting ahead of ourselves, but yeah, go on. But but like I said, before we move on, because obviously I actually want to, I'm just curious about your views about the different console versions, but I believe there was a certain incident at I-46 where apparently the Renault guys that was running the Grandmaster Challenge, half the machines were like genuine CPS2, the other half just had MAME in it, and apparently some of you top players could not actually tell the difference.
I don't know where you get that bit from.
My last podcast three episodes ago. So then, ORF, did you notice some of those machines were off then?
Well, I did notice that. I found it more difficult to play on one of them, but I'm just trusting, and I just assumed they were both.
Oh, so you didn't know? Okay.
He didn't tell us at all. They were main.
Oh no, yeah. So we weren't told, and it's like we know. I noticed that one of them I found it more difficult to play on, but I just assumed maybe it was the stick, or there's so many factors that could cause you to execute a bit.
Oh, okay, because
I had no idea that one of them was main.
Funny enough, the first person who mentioned it to us was Circle Masher, I think.
Was it?
Shortly after, because we got there and I went out for a cigarette outside, and do you remember he was saying, because when he picks Hawk and he just mashes crouch and jab, like 2 minutes solids.
Yeah.
Yeah, without missing a beat. And he's saying, I missed some of my crouch and jabs. I think there's something wrong with the machine.
Yeah.
Like, he just straight away knew.
He just clocked it. He's just confident. I mean, because I was playing Fade Long in one match.
I
was playing against Sprint, and it was pretty funny. It was if you ever get to watch that match, I don't know if it got recorded, but I'm trying to do chicken wings, and chicken wing motion, like probably everyone knows, is kind of half circle forward, then up, diagonal up and kick. And I kept missing the chicken wing, and I just actually do a jump forwards kick. So I was literally just jumping around the screen, just kicking. It's very.
So there is that much of a difference then. Okay, I'm damn. I thought you guys knew about it because I found out because obviously I was speaking to Justin Xavier from the Electronic Dojo, and he sort of exposed this little factoid because obviously I was just pointing out in that last show how hardcore your scene is, insisting on the actual arcade version.
You can tell for sure.
It's like the sort of input drops and things like that when you play online, and when you play on MAME. So that's probably the reason people weren't pulling stuff out. The stuff was just getting dropped, but.
Sometimes you think it's you.
That's it. I mean, you're not going to instantly suspect that someone's put in a MAME.
You should do that.
That's what I'm going to do next time.
Every time you lose,
that's what I'm going to do.
Cabinet, if I look at the boards.
If I can't execute one punch, I'm going to say that's MAME.
Okay, so perhaps that tournament was not on a level playing field if it was one on MAME and one on the arcade board, because I think, I don't know, again, this was only from what I heard.
A real cab, I think.
Well, again, I'll be curious if whether or not the grand finals was played on.
I think that one was on the good cab. Pretty sure.
He did. After a while, you noticed a lot of the games.
He put them all on one cabinet, didn't he? After a while.
Yeah. It's quite a good tournament, actually. I thought, to be honest.
Yeah, it was. I enjoyed it. Yeah, and it's not too far for us. We travelled up. We travelled from Gloucester.
You could tell who the people, because there were quite a few people I thought were there for ST. Like you could see, like Scott, the Bison player, was really good.
Is that Relinquished?
Yeah.
Guy called Relinquished. Zero was there. A few other guys. There was one really good ST player who used to play on GGPO called Fuzz, and I think he actually won Third Strike and he won Cross Tekken.
No, it might have been, yeah.
I think he won Cross Tekken, but he's a pad player on GGPO, so he couldn't enter ST. But he's actually really, really good. So I mean, that would have been even more interesting if he couldn't play.
But he uses a Saturn pad, doesn't he?
Yeah, he uses a Saturn pad, but he's so good with it.
Okay. Oh wow! In that case, you did know. Okay, you definitely did notice the difference then, because again, I was trying to. Again, the whole point in that last discussion was that apparently, some of you top players did not notice, but by the sounds of it, no, you did notice, but you just thought, oh, it was something else.
Yeah, that's sort of.
Plus the odds of Jason buying 2 ST boards is quite slim.
Oh, gotcha. Anyway, time for this particular section. Mr. Dave Serlin, do you have anything nice to say about him, JPJ?
Is he on Neo?
Probably not.
So we know.
Dave Serlin is the infamous Matt, was the genius behind HDR Remix. You know, the guy that thought, wouldn't it be great if we rebalance this game how I would think?
To be honest, I don't really know a lot about HD Remix because I've only recently started playing it because my girlfriend's got a PS3 and I've been trying to play on that a little bit. But I remember he kind of more came under fire with, if you remember Capcom Classics on PS2.
Yeah.
Oh wow! Okay.
And there's an ST version on PS2, and it's
pretty
Super
crap.
Turbo rather than Hyper Anniversary. But
Yeah.
I think NKI ran a bunch of tests on it, and there was all this extra input
There's
lag.
loads of input lag. And then it was interesting, sorry, talking to, you know, Kusamondo, the Japanese E-Honda
Oh
player.
that was a godlike finals at Evo. I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah.
He is unbelievable. But anyway, he went to an American tournament, and I think he got beaten pretty badly by Alex Vai and by John Choi. But he was saying, I think it was on Capcom Classics, wasn't it?
I think that one was Dreamcast. I think that
Was it?
But you might be thinking of Gian, the Dowson player, because apparently I think he did really well, but not as well as he should have done. But he had loads of money matches, and then when he played the console version, he cancelled them all straight away. He was just like, I can't play this.
Yeah. So
But
I mean,
it was the official Evo version that year, unfortunately, 2005.
I thought it was Kusamondo as well, because I remember if you look at the videos of those matches, Kusamondo is like, his trademark is that he could just jump fireballs so well on reaction and all of this, and he was just getting hit by every fireball, and I'm pretty sure he was saying there was some input lag. I don't know if maybe it was a TV or if it was
I
Capcom.
definitely know he complained about the Dreamcast one in 2008, and apparently that's only one frame of lag. But he's that
He was
good.
like-
He's just like, at one frame,
Yeah, that's
fucks
it.
me up.
Okay, but but HDR Remix has been, I don't know, it is quite a divisive game, because obviously it sort of divided the community, because, well, obviously besides the fact that it was rebalanced.
Yeah, I don't understand it because I'm only recently kind of playing it, and I never read all the changes. I was never really interested because I didn't have a console to play it on anyway.
Yeah.
And I'm playing it, and it's like Honda doing headbutts through fireballs and
Yeah, it
weird
looks a
stuff,
bit
and like DJ's machine gun upper thing makes him invulnerable to
swallows
fireballs.
fireball.
Why?
So I started playing that when they first came out actually. So I used to play GGPO back at uni.
Mm-hmm.
I was really excited about this HD remix coming out because I remember the first drawings that they showed of HD remix.
Oh yeah.
The illustrations looked like incredible. They're amazing.
Yeah.
And what happened? It was something to do with the download limit on Xbox Live Arcade, so they had to tone down the detail on the illustrations. I think that's right.
I think they had loads of backwards and forwards with you.
They did. There was a lot of. I think there was a lot of issues they had, and I played it from the beginning. I played quite a lot actually, and I liked it. I mean, I haven't got too much bad to say about David Stern because he's a fan of the game. I mean, he tried his best, and he brought something out he thought would help
going.
ST and keep ST going. He had good intentions. So, I mean, maybe some people are a bit harsh, when they're talking about.
Oh, okay.
Because I think because that's when all the sort of tournaments went to HD consoles or new next gen consoles, HD displays. Like, I don't think people would have been keen to run like a Dreamcast ST tournament. Do you know what I mean? In like 2009, 2010,
maybe.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think while he was developing, it wasn't just him and what he wanted to put in. It was he'd get players in to test it and give them advice. I think people like John Choi and a lot of good US players would go in and help him. But I mean, some of the changes are just
They don't make sense.
They're not good for the game. So I mean, I love playing Fei Long. He's sort of one of my main characters, and he's just not fun in HD remix. They just took the fun out of him.
And he looks like he's got Down syndrome. With that new
Yeah, that's another thing. Is the illustration? It's really choppy. It's like a Flash game, and
Yeah.
there are lots of little issues. So, and I don't know whether you can say it split up the community because at the same time you can argue it brought loads of new players in. I mean, a lot of the players playing now, like Zero, a lot of guys we meet at tournaments, they started off in HDR. They probably wouldn't be into ST if it wasn't for HDR. So on the other side of the coin, it did bring
I
new
think at
people
the
in.
time it was very decisive. I think there was a lot of one camp or the other. But it's
Yeah.
quite interesting that arcade ST seems to be the one that's actually
Definitely, yeah.
lived
It has
on
now, yeah,
rather
yeah.
than HDR. Even though,
Yeah.
well, like we were saying before, how difficult it is to get an arcade set up
Yeah.
at a tournament up and running. And that seems to be the one that sort of lived on. You don't really hear about many HDR only tournaments really these days.
No, I mean, there were quite a few, weren't there? And now, if you ever get HDR being played, it's in classic mode. So
That's true.
they have moved back. I mean, not just arcade, just original ST, just not remix mode. They kind of scrapped that.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just curious. Apparently, yeah, obviously you can switch. You can switch back to, yeah, classic mode, and obviously you have the old sprites. Though it looks whack. It does look whack as hell when you see those massively low res sprites against those HD backgrounds.
Yeah.
And let's say the speed just feels wrong as well, even in
I
classic
think the
modes.
speed's different, and there are other differences. Like I was talking to Chris earlier about Gull's voice and things like that. They've made some changes which are still there, even if you play classic mode.
Yeah. Because I think it's based on the Dreamcast code as well.
Yeah,
apparently,
I
isn't
think
it,
so.
HDR?
Yeah.
So I think some people are also a bit bitter because they think, well, as it works and it's on console and it's online, why couldn't it have just been just ST?
Just sort of like Third Strike was when they released that. I mean, Third Strike has those crappy borders. I mean, oh man, I mean, I love Third Strike, but some of the things in that release were a bit crap. But at least it's original 3S, and they could release that quickly.
Yeah.
I mean, they probably should have just done the same with ST. Although they did have ST on Xbox, didn't they? They had Anniversary Edition.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so they had that. So maybe they were thinking, there's already a version on Xbox, so
That's true.
the original. I don't know.
I think at the time it was the biggest selling online game, wasn't it? HDR when it came out.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me actually. It was pretty big.
I think they sold over 1 million. I think.
Did they?
Yeah, I think it did really well.
Oh, blimey.
I think yeah.
Okay. Just curious. So, if for whatever bizarre reason there was, I don't know, some evil guy that destroyed every single CPS2 board in the world, though obviously you would probably want to kill him first, but if you had to pick a console version and there was no other, because literally there's no alternative, which one would you pick?
I would play Hyper Anniversary on PS2. I quite enjoy that more than Dreamcast, I think.
Yeah, I mean, with me, I haven't played that one. It would probably be the Dreamcast one, just for how decent the port it was. But then at the same time, I mean,
Dreamcast is weird because you kind of got to go into all these dip switch settings as well to set everything exactly right. Because
you can change. There are certain things they've changed, and you can switch them all off. But then at the same time, HD Remix Classic Mode, just because that's on Xbox and PS3 and it's easily accessible, that's up there as well.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, just because like we'd go to Sodium Showdown or something.
what happened to your 3DO, mate?
Oh yeah, that's it. As it was mentioned, and it's been said repeatedly, because again, I spoke to the Dragons, and yeah, I'm surprised of your very, very diplomatic response to Dave Serling, because obviously the Dragons had nothing but fire and brimstone to talk about that guy.
I think it's because I never was interested in HDR when it came out. The whole thing kind of passed me by, really, to be honest.
Yeah.
But I'm playing it now, and I can kind of see it is a bit shit.
Yeah.
I've had to resort to playing HDR sometimes when Joe's in London for a few weeks, so I've got no one else to play locally. Play HDR online is fucking rubbish, but
It's better than nothing, maybe.
yeah, that's true.
Okay, but
Just play CPU on my own.
gotcha. But yeah, apparently, for those that didn't know, the 3DO is apparently the best version ever. There's only a downside: it's on the 3DO and it's on a pad that only has 3 buttons.
Well, this is it, yeah.
Yeah. Mind you, I remember playing Champion Edition on Mega Drive when I was a kid. I used to have to rent.
Oh, that was godlike. I'm sorry.
And I only had a 3-button pad.
Press start, is it?
You got to press start to switch between punches and kicks.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it's quite sick. You press start, do jump in, hard kick, crouch, hard kick. Press start, do a fireball, run away.
Some mad execution skills to that.
Or you could have went out and brought a 6-button pad, which was so godlike they actually brought it back again for the Saturn.
Oh, we only had one shop where I lived that sold that stuff, and they didn't
man.
6-button pads. I was gutted.
Oh, okay, you missed out on live because I remember because I could honestly say when they brought Street Fighter to the to the Mega Drive, that was I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it was just the placebo because I've always been a Sega person. I've not much into Nintendo. And it was like when I was playing Street Fighter on my Sega Mega Drive with a 6-button pad, I thought this is perfect. It just feels so right because you didn't have a 6-button pad on the SNES, but when you had it on the Mega Drive and the sound was just a little bit better. I don't know, for my ears, it was like, yeah, this is Street Fighter. I mean, obviously it wasn't the arcade version, but it was damn good.
Because I can't remember, where was the SNES up to with Street Fighter 2s? Can you remember when that came out? Because obviously SNES had World Warrior, but Champion Edition was so much bigger, I think, than World Warrior.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was bigger for whatever weird reason. Yeah.
Didn't they have Super on that?
I think they did, but I don't know if that didn't come out till a fair while after Mega Drive Champion. I can't remember.
I mean, it's interesting because the Mega Drive pad, and then it went in, developed into the Saturn pad, and people were saying the Saturn pad is the pad to use.
No. Oh, yeah. Actually, to clear things up, because this is how effing old I am. No, what happened was there was 2 versions of the Saturn pad. You had this the really, really godlike Mega Drive one, which was so wicked. That actually became the second version of the Saturn pad. The actual default pad on the Saturn was horrible.
Oh right, okay.
So
I've seen one of those.
So it's like the Mega Drive pad, the 6-button pad was so godlike that they had to keep it in storage and then bring it out again to remind people, man, this was so awesome. Why didn't they bring it first out for the Saturn? Because then they wouldn't buy this one. Oh yeah.
That's true. The Saturn's a good console, man.
Oh yeah, of course. Again, if you're a hardcore gamer, of course, especially if you're a fighting gamer, the infamous 4-megabyte cart, because
Yeah. It's one of those weird machines where I think it's because it's got that dual processor thing. It was kind of it was kind of not very good at 3D games, but 2D games it was really good.
Yeah,
16-bit, 32-bit stuff.
Did you ever play Guardian Heroes?
Oh God! Oh, damn it, Joe! You are my hero. That is. Oh, I don't know where to begin. It was genius. It was combining.
Isn't that coming out like remake?
I think I think it's on Xbox Arcade or something.
Yeah.
But I mean,
those
games, on the Saturn it was that was an awesome game.
Yeah, with the little with the animated cutscenes. I mean, obviously they're all the rage now. But back in the day, it's like, oh my God, it's like a cartoon show. But then you press start and then you can play it.
Yeah.
I think I had KOF 95 and 96 on Saturn.
Was that on
import ones? Yeah.
You have my commiserations. That game was rage-inducing. It sort of
Yeah, I think the rounds were quicker than the loading times. I think.
Yeah.
Loading.
I shit you not. I think I've even said this before. I set the game to very easy, and it was actually more hard than when you actually set it to hard.
Is that 95?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the bosses on SNK games, from what I remember, King of Fighters games, are always impossible.
Yeah.
It was cheap as anything.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, I guess we're rounding up to the last 2 points, so I guess we can. I don't know why I left them so late, but let's talk about the ST scene. Well, I guess in the UK. So, what are you saying about the ST scene, guys?
Dead game, innit?
So I mean, I don't know. It's a weird one. It's just 1 minute it's popular.
I think the trouble with ST, my opinion is, I think because there's so many new games.
Yeah.
I think when some younger people kind of get into it, there's so many other new games that people kind of drop it. If you know what I mean. There's very people kind of pick up ST and then stick with it.
Yeah, and I think it's really difficult. I mean, it's really difficult to get that environment now where you can really train up and get pretty good. I think a few years ago on GGPO, there were a lot more people playing, and it was really good on there. So like I said, when I started off, loads of people helping you out, really, really good European players. And now there's hardly anyone really on there.
When I was on there, 2008, because that's before HDR and before Street Fighter 4.
Yeah.
You had like Alex Vi would be on there.
Whoa! What the hell?
Yeah, I played Alex Vi on HDR. Yeah.
Sabin would be on there all the time. Professor Jones. Those people, Jodie in Japan, all sorts of people. But when HDR came out, it kind of split it. And then when SF4 came out and everything else, loads of people just dropped it.
Yeah, that's sort of what happened. And you got a lot of people who picked up HDR, they got into it, and they've stuck with it. So there are a few people who've come in, and Arcade ST has had a bit of a revival, but it's more maybe America.
France,
yeah, America and some places in Europe, but UK, nah, not really.
Nah, don't think so.
It's still pretty dead, to be honest.
Too many fair weather gamers, isn't it?
Fair weather
I'm
gamers?
not cool enough.
So,
For 3 months.
I mean, like, it's cool. Like we mentioned, Sodium Showdown earlier. So the guys there are really cool, and they put ST on.
Yeah.
It was HDR, but sometimes we had quite a good turnout. But it's generally people who play maybe Street Fighter 4 and they think, oh, I've heard of ST. It's like the original game. I'll just give it a go.
Yeah.
And once you know the basics of maybe Street Fighter 4, you kind of know what to expect in ST.
I used to feel a bit bad because you used to have Mike and Mark from sort of Sheffield used to come down for that tournament.
Yeah.
So for them, it was like a 5-hour drive there, 5-hour drive back.
ow.
Although it was a tournament game, you might get 20 odd people there. For casuals, it would just be like them playing us two, and then if we weren't there, they just play each other, and that was it.
Yeah. So I mean, it was a bit dead. I mean, people tried, and then so what else was there? SVB used to play HDR. So like I said, that was my first tournament, 2009, and I went back there, 2010.
And you got first place.
Not in 2010.
Nah, you got worse.
Got smashed up in 2010. But I mean, I think after that they wiped it from the roster, didn't they? So 2011 didn't have it.
Yeah.
And now, interestingly, this year, sort of the recent news, it's on arcade version. They've got arcade there. So it comes in and out of fashion, kind of, doesn't it? And it's back again at the moment. But we'll just see how many people turn up.
I think the trouble is it's only popular with people kind of mid-20s and older, really kind of stuff at ST.
Everyone's sort of getting... I mean, you do have quite a few new players, but...
Okay, so...
Yeah, when you go to tournament, I think most of the people who are like top 8 in a tournament in ST, they're all like older guys, aren't they?
Maybe.
Kind of, I don't know.
Okay, so before we get to the last, the real great big meat of the topic, X-mania. So, how many people would you reckon you could grab if there was like a super ST tournament in UK? How many people would you think would come out?
5?
Nah, it's not that bad, is it?
No, I reckon SVB. I reckon we'll probably get.
I reckon that'd be a decent
30,
turnout.
30 to 50, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, in Telford, how many were there? Wasn't that many were there? About maybe.
It wasn't a full 32-man bracket.
No, it was
probably
about
about
20?
20 odds, something like that.
And then the one I went to before, I think, was in Birmingham. That was another DNA tournament with, what's it called?
Oh,
versus fighting?
Yeah.
Oh, you actually went to Versus... Oh, wait,
Yeah.
you went to Versus Fighting and I sort of walked past you about 6 or 7 times.
This is versus fighting 1.
This is the
thinking-
first.
I was about to say, okay.
This is 2010, yeah, not the most recent one. So
Oh, gotcha,
I went
alright
there
then.
for that Birmingham, and that was actually a pretty good turnout. I think that's one of the best turnouts I've seen.
And you beat Ryan Hart and the videos never made it to YouTube.
Yeah.
Oh, please do tell.
I reckon there's a conspiracy.
Let it on.
Joe wins I-46 and you do a podcast and say you didn't win it.
yeah. What's this? You're all being played up.
That's because I remember you being a spectacle-wearing guy, and it was like... And then suddenly you then turn around and say, oh, new technology, contact lenses. Like, oh, darn. I was...
Yeah, so I mean, that tournament was pretty good. It overran, but I really enjoyed that. You had quite a lot of guys who were playing
Nicknames got quite a
HDR.
lot, I think.
Yeah,
quite a lot
Birmingham
of
was a few
Birmingham
people.
who play ST.
Yeah, so I mean, it's not as bad. It's just that they don't really come out for tournaments that much anymore. But I mean, if you really pushed to get people out, you could get a 32-man tournament with a lot of decent players in.
I think so.
That's not bad, because that's essentially what that's essentially what the tournament of legends was at Evo was. That was essentially 32-man as well. So yeah.
I think the trouble is though, if you just had just an ST event, I think the turnout would be really, really small. I think it's got to piggyback on top of other events or be part of like what we call a major, I suppose, if you know what I mean. I think if you just ran just an ST tournament anywhere, I think you'd be lucky to get 16 people.
Yeah, so I mean, for your Thunder Kicks, it's been quite difficult. We've had it once. How many were there?
I think 14 was the most we had. In my one
But
bedroom.
one Thunder Kick, there were 3 of us, wasn't there?
3 or 4, something like that. It was just like
3 or 4 man tournament.
It was basically a session.
Yeah, it was. That's with an invite out to quite a few people, wasn't it? I mean, a lot of people couldn't make it.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shame. Because I thought they were kind of getting more popular, but it's a bit, I don't know, I think I learned after a while, whatever amount of people you get to sign up, you can expect at least 50% of UK players will drop out.
Yeah, that infamously happened at the Staffordshire Showdown where 20 people said they would turn up. Unfortunately, we got pretty much less than half.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think Ryan Hart was going to come to that, wasn't he?
No, he was. No, he was going to come, but the problem he was in the reserve. He was in the reserve list, but because those people didn't have the courtesy to say they were going to drop out, he couldn't attend because the list was full.
Yeah. Ah, I see. Right. So I mean, I've only played Ryan Hart the one time at ST, and that was in the final in Birmingham. And he did really well to get to the final. I mean, do you know Chaos Flair?
Can't say I do, nah.
So he won SVB 2010 ST, and he's a good mate of mine over in London, and he played Ryan Hart. So his name's Ryan as well, and he played Ryan Hart in the semi-finals. So I was really surprised that Ryan Hart managed to beat him because this guy's a really solid guy. So I mean, Ryan Hart did really well, considering it's not his main game, and he plays Street Fighter 4.
What character was he playing?
He's playing Ryu. And so it was really impressive that he managed to do that, and he got to the finals of practically every game there. I think Tekken, Street Fighter 4, Street Fighter 4, I think he won. So, I mean, it was pretty impressive. And I think he's played Daigo before and done alright, hasn't he?
He beat him.
Street Fighter 2. I don't think he beat him, did he?
No, he beat him in Street Fighter 4.
Oh, right. In Street Fighter 2, he's played Daigo as well, I think.
Oh, okay. I don't know about that, but yeah.
Yeah, that's on YouTube, and it actually did pretty well. It's a good mirror match.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
Is that HD Remix?
I think it was HD Remix, yeah. So
okay. So it's not legitimate then. Oh, all right.
You don't have HD Remix in Japan. I think they never officially released it. So anyone in Japan who plays it, they got to region mod their console to the USA version to download it.
No, I don't think it's that extreme. I think, because, for whatever daft reason, it took forever for HD Remix to come to the UK. All you had to do was just open a US account. If it was on the PS3,
sorry, that's what I mean. Sorry, yeah. But I don't think it ever had an official release in Japan on like their version of PSN or anything like that.
Yeah, but it's not really that hard or anything from them stopping to download it, apart from the fact that, well, I could do that, or I could just walk down the street and go to my game center and play it.
Yeah. I think that's quite cool though. That for them, the main place to play is still the arcades, even now.
Well, that's why they're so much better. One, because they've been playing it from the beginning, but two, because they've just been, their talent's just been growing in arcades, and they're just constantly playing each other.
I remember Graham Wolf saying, I think when Kusu came over in 2008 for Evo, Kusumondo said he'd spent the equivalent of about $30,000 over the years just to level up his Honda.
Jesus Christ!
Yeah, since 91 to 2008.
You could actually buy a genuine Honda with that, and then the one with 4 wheels instead of playing a virtual one. Bloody hell!
You think how much money they must spend in the arcades?
I know they have free play nights and things, but it's all you have to pay. It's no free. Just going around each other's houses and have a few games sort of thing, session.
But it shows really, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean...
Put the time in.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, talking about casino earlier, I went there, me and Ryan went there last week or something, and we've been there a few times. And what is this, like £1 for 3 credits? And we rack up the money so quickly. I think last time we must have spent about £30.
So if a match on ST lasts probably about 90 seconds
yeah.
You spend
you know what? I'm actually trying to think about it. I don't think I've ever spent. I think the most I've ever spent at an arcade. Well, besides the fact when I was a little kid playing those. The most I've spent at playing fighting games, I could probably say was only really about £10, and that wasn't by choice. It was just because I was getting my ass kicked by this guy. So. £30, wow.
That's every penny though.
Like I said, that's why you guys are definitely the last team to surrender.
Yeah, we're not going to give up, are we?
No.
Okay.
60.
I don't even want to imagine. I'm just having these horrible visions when all of us are old men. Then, God, we're wearing our stupid little tweed jackets, and for whatever bizarre reason, we got our TE sticks with our anime girls printed on them, and it's like, yeah, I don't know, my brain just can't go there. I'm just trying to think.
Nah.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, let's not think about that. sorry.
I think some of the Japanese guys who are still playing that, like Kurahashi and stuff, they must be coming up about 40.
Yeah, I mean, that's actually like an interesting point, is a lot of the Japanese players, they're still playing regularly, and they are probably like 40. And they all play after work, you know, and their reactions are amazing, and they're just still awesome at the game. So it's not something where you're limited by your age, I don't think.
No, I don't think so. No, and ST is quite a timing sensitive game as well.
Yeah, it's just experience, really, isn't it? In ST, a lot of it.
Experience and mind games.
From what I heard, it's like, yeah, obviously you're going to lose reaction because you're getting older, but that gets replaced by sort of, well, better guessing and anticipation.
Well, I mean, I remember, I don't know how true this is, but I remember when Professor Jones went over to Japan, he plays Bison, and he was trying to talk to Tyra, one of the best sort of Bisons over there, and he's about the Guile matchup, and Tyra was saying that he would do a standing hard kick against Scar's Sonic Boom on reaction. He just looks for the sprite where he sees the shoulders move, and he just
what the hell?
On reaction.
And that's super fast. That's on ST.
Yeah. Although, I mean, I suppose Scar Sonic Boom takes a little bit longer to come out and say Ryu's fighting.
Yeah, you can poke it, but still.
To do that on reaction, and it's not a guess, you're just looking for, right, the shoulders have moved, click the button, kick in the face.
But it's like you say, it's a bit of anticipation, and knowing a few tricks as well can help you. So Kurahashi is just incredible at his. He'll super through your fireballs all day long, even if you do a really close range. He's just supers. But part of it's anticipation. He thinks he's going to do it. Part of it is he knows, to constantly buffer super when he's got it again in the mirror match. But his reaction's still amazing. I was really impressed
when he goes over fireballs as well.
And Kusumondo, all of the Japanese players, their reactions were on another level. I don't know whether it's a mix of anticipation as well and experience, but it looked like reaction, and it was just so much better than anyone else's.
Okay.
I think that's the difference between offline and online. Because I think when you play online, you almost always have to play more anticipation than reaction.
Yeah.
Whereas offline, when you're playing just on reaction, I think the game's a lot more enjoyable to play. It's a lot deeper then.
Yeah.
Okay, and finally, to wrap it up, I believe, ORF, you went to X-mania. So, how? Actually, before we go on to X-mania, I saw pictures of that was released by Big Boss, and for whatever bizarre reason, it's exactly as I would expect it to be. Sort of a little quaint Parisian street and all that. But the only difference thing, you had all these arcade machines. It was like, oh wow, that's like exactly as I would imagine an arcade in Paris would look like.
Yeah, so I think so. If this is X-mania, then it was in Toulouse.
Oh, actually, sorry. Oh, okay.
But yeah, it was in Toulouse, and I've been twice. There've only been two, and they've just released the third one, which is happening next year. So I'll be going to that as well. And they are absolutely incredible. If you're a fan of ST, that is the tournament to go to. By far the best tournament I've ever been to. And it's a mixture of the fact that they've made a massive amount of effort. They've got the first year, I think maybe they had 8 arcade cabs, and it's pretty cool. It's a normal arcade, and it's normally filled with Street Fighter 4 and other arcade games. And they clear out all these games for the weekend, and all the arcades, and they replace them with the Astro cabs and the ST cabs. So they have 4 head-to-head setups, which is 8 ST cabs. And that was incredible. That was the first year. And then when we got to the second year, I think it was 16 arcade cabs, so they doubled it. I think it was 16. And they had them darted across all over the place.
And they had a lot more guests, because I think the first year was just Kurahashi and Kusu, wasn't it?
Yes, yeah. So the first year, Kurahashi and Kusumondo. And it was just incredible to see these guys and actually, play them and see how good they really were. Because, you just see them on stream or on YouTube. And, I mean, these guys are the top as well. They're not just good Japanese players, which would be incredible to play anyway, but these are the top players in the world. And then the most recent one in number 2, we had Kurahashi came back, Kusumondo, and then we had Komoda and Yaya, and Damdai as well from the US.
Oh yeah, I heard that name. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, these are all. I mean, Damdai is one of the top US players, probably the top with Afro Legends.
Yeah, he's very infamous. He's kind of Yeah, he's very infamous. Yeah, I mean, that's the most diplomatic thing to say.
Yeah, they've got a bit of a rivalry going on.
Yeah, lost the money match. Was it $1,000 money match?
Yeah, it's a shame because I think I forgot what it was. It was quite a lot. Damdai and Afro had a money match, a tournament of legends, and Afro won it. But I was rooting for Damdai because I met him and we were hanging out with him in Toulouse, and he's a really nice, down-to-earth guy. We got on with him really well, so I was hoping he'd win. So that was a bit of a shame. But anyway, yeah. So in Toulouse we had those guys, and it was just awesome to meet them and see how good they were. And the whole event was, it was run well. It was basically run on time. A lot of French players there, obviously. But the cool thing is the French are really passionate about ST.
Oh, so, actually, yeah. Sorry to interrupt you. What kind of a bracket system did they use? Was it just straight double elim, or was it groups into singles, or was it just single elim?
I'm trying to remember now. So there were 3 tournaments.
I thought they were single elim watching it. But there were 3 different tournaments.
Yeah, there were 3 different tournaments. One of them was a single elim with groups, and that was you chose just one character and you had to stick with that character.
Mm-hmm.
Then the other there's another tournament where you choose 3 characters and they can be the same character. And it's Star Cup format?
Star Cup, yeah.
Yeah, so they played in that format, and that's double elim, so that's probably the longest one.
Mm.
And then the final one is teams, so 3 versus 3, sort of X-mania style. Yeah, because it's X-mania, so they had that there as well. So it's awesome. You get 3 tournaments running over the whole weekend, and there's just casuals all the time. The arcade's open till 4 in the morning, and people, some people.
Whoa, jeez!
It's open from maybe 10 in the morning till about 4 in the next morning. Some people were just sleeping in the arcades and stuff.
Is that Kareem?
Probably, yeah. A few people set up shop there.
I liked what you were saying about, because I think in Japan you get like an East versus West rivalry between like Tokyo and Osaka, like the big cities, and you were saying like Karachi was a little bit ostracized from the other guys.
Oh yeah, so this interesting thing with the Japanese players is you've got like what you were saying, you've got Tokyo and Osaka. I think they're the two major players when it comes to ST. And Kurahashi's from Tokyo, and Yaya Komoda and Kusumondo are all mates from Osaka. And you could kind of see, not that he was ostracized, but Kurahashi was a bit by himself, and he'd hang out with maybe some of the French guys who would just stand there with him. They couldn't really speak much English apart from Kusumondo and Yaya.
Just a few you guys in. Yeah, there's always kind of, because I'm trying to remember now, there's always been these, the correct terminology would, there's always been this Kansai, the Kansai region versus, the Tokyo region.
Okay,
yeah. And essentially they are, how shall I put it, because I'm studying Japanese, a bit of Japanese myself, well, for a very long time and doing it badly, and they are pretty much 2 entire different regions. It is like the equivalent of the Scouse versus Londoners, essentially. So you can think of Osaka as being essentially Scouse. And by the way, I should actually point out that Osaka Japanese, or the Osaka bed is actually my favorite kind of Japanese, and that's why I want to learn it, because it's just so funny. And Tokyo, whereas Tokyo sort of Japanese is kind of, it's kind of like BBC English, to be honest with you.
Oh, right, okay.
So I could kind of understand why there's a bit of ostracization, because essentially it's like listening to a bunch of drunken scouts going, whatever.
I see. Yeah.
I remember, because I think that's when Kurahashi got really hype, when he beat those 3.
Yeah.
In teams.
Oh man, he got really hype. So normally Kurahashi it's a bit like Daigo, used to be, where just stone-faced, and he's just into the game. And he's just playing. He's very polite and smiles to be polite, but he never got that hype. Yeah. And then at the end of the,
right.
I think it was the team. Yeah, sorry.
Gotcha. No, sorry, Southern Brainstorm. It wasn't Tokyo region. The correct term is it's Kanto versus Kansai. Yeah, just so that all those, correction Nazis don't get at me. Yeah, sorry.
Start flaming you.
Yeah, it took me a while, but there's always been a rivalry between Kanto and Kansai, and again, that's sort of, But anyway, sorry, go on. Sorry.
Oh, that's fine. I think it was the teams tournament. Yeah, the teams tournament. So you had Kurahashi teamed up with 2 French guys, and they were decent players. And then the other team in the final were the 3 Osaka guys. So, you had 3 Japanese guys versus Kurahashi, and then 2 French guys. And I think the 2 French guys went first, and they got beaten. as you'd expect. And then Kurahashi went up against those three, and he just, they were close games, but he won all of them. And he was getting so hype as he was knocking them out. I mean, it was awesome to watch. He ended up just taking his top off and like running around the arcade more or less at the end.
Oh, damn. Is that on YouTube? I'm going to see this.
I don't think that was. I think that would be censored.
Yeah, Boss's personal collection.
Okay, because that's, again, that's not really Japanese-like, as I would say.
That's it. Yeah, it wasn't like him at all. And everyone thought, wow, that meant a lot to him because we haven't seen that. And another person who gets really into the game and it means a lot to him is Kusumondo. And he's there, and he's, you can see that he's really preparing for the game beforehand. He'll go outside, like, calm himself down. And then when he played Kurahashi...
Really?
He's really...
Okay, because I just saw him at EVO, because, let's face it, whenever you see Japanese players, I don't know whether or not it's because they just go to American tournaments, they always just look mad stoic, unless, of course, you're Takido.
Yeah. Yeah, and he was taking it really seriously. So he sat down, played Kurahashi, and then when he lost, he was so gutted. He didn't even get up from the machine for about a minute. He was just
Whoa!
He was really pissed off, and then just went outside and calmed down and came back in to watch the other guys play. So I mean, it means a lot to them. I think especially when they were playing each other, like we were saying, because that rivalry. Maybe when they were playing us, the European guys, it was a bit more chilled out. They weren't so bothered, but when it was Japan versus Japan, they were getting really intense. So I mean, it's really good to see though. I mean, that it meant so much to them, coming over to European country and getting so into the games. And I think they really appreciated that everyone really liked meeting them and liked playing them, and everyone was really friendly there. So it's just a great tournament to go to in sort of every aspect.
I think you got to talk about the combos thing when they were with their limited English with Yaya.
Okay, that's interesting. So how did you communicate? Because obviously, well, it's kind of funny because I think English is the universal language. But if you're in a place where nobody generally speaks English, how does that kind of work?
So I think Yaya and Kusumono speak a tiny bit. Komodo and Kurahashi, really not much at all. So I mean, it got to the point where after the tournaments and everything, people were asking about sort of, the strongest players in Japan and about certain combos. And they were trying to, because they couldn't really explain to us about the combos, they started acting out the combos. And this is outside the arcade on the street. So like somebody would be like, oh, so what's the coolest combo you've seen? And they'll say, oh, I don't want to take the piss or anything and say try and
like
mimic their accents. It was very funny. They were like literally standing there on the street, like showing dragon punches and punch. And they would literally say crouching punch, and they'd crouch on the floor and do a punch. They were awesome guys, and they were doing it just for a laugh. They weren't
I think
taking
that's
the
how
piss.
all combo videos should be in the future. I think.
Oh, man, what I would give if somebody with a crappy cam phone just captured that. Oh man, that sounds sick.
Yeah, I mean, Yaya was probably the most, laid back, and he was really genuinely quite funny. And he was cracking jokes all the time. And he was taking the piss out of Komodo and the other guys there, but in a nice, friendly way. So, we all had a laugh. And even though they couldn't speak English that much, we really got what they were saying.
Oh, okay.
It's quite weird with Yaya, because we were talking about this the other day, because he plays new Sagat rather than old Sagat, even though the old version of Sagat is sort of one of the best, or strongest, I suppose, characters in the game. But they got a weird sort of, some of the older Japanese players, not all of them, but they got this weird sort of mentality where it's sort of, it's not all about winning. I think it's about how good you are with your character.
Yeah.
And there's Anakin, who's sort of a Ken player. He started off playing Balrog, and apparently he switched to Ken because he found playing Balrog too easy.
Yeah.
And he sort of wanted to make it more of a challenge for himself. And I quite like their format, the way they do stuff where it's 3-on-3 with teams, because then you haven't always got to deal, like if you're playing sets, it's quite difficult. If you've got a bad matchup, if you've got to win 3 games out of 5 or something like that. But if you're like a Honda player and you've got to beat a Ryu just one game,
it's possible.
Yeah, and it makes the game a lot, I think the way they play it and their tournament formats make it a lot more interesting, 3-on-3 teams.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. But it was cool because it wasn't just the games, it was people would go out afterwards. We went out for dinner and went out for lunch with the guys, and everyone was just so, just having a good time. And on the very last night at the end, the Japanese came out and we all went for dinner somewhere literally I don't know how many people it was, maybe 25 people who were in the tournament.
Jesus Christ!
We all literally went to a restaurant, just took this restaurant over, and we all had like food there, and it was just really nice. It was really friendly. There was no bullshit, and there was no resentment or some tournaments can get a bit funny, and
yeah,
where it's like it's not that comfortable sometimes. But it wasn't like that at all here. It was just people were just happy to be there.
And they don't play for money really either, do they? They just play just because they enjoy the game.
Yeah, I mean, actually, I think interestingly as well, Kurahashi, I don't think he was meant to be coming this time. And I think the story is that one of the French guys who organised it, Wovo, I think he's called.
The guy who owns it.
Yeah, he's the guy who owns it, and he went to pick up the others, and Kurahashi was just there, and he just turned up, and he paid for it out of his own money, and he'd come over because I think he enjoyed it so much last year.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I should actually point something out that the Japanese, they don't ever get paid holidays, because I remember an incident ages ago before when somebody came down to a UK tournament and he was mad. Well, he was just mad pissed that, well, you can imagine that the tournament was ran essentially upstairs in a Burger King. I shit you not. It was upstairs in the Burger King. Obviously, they got a couple of consoles, televisions, and that was a tournament. And the Japanese guy arrived there and he was like, "What? This is it?" And obviously he was mad pissed because obviously traveling from, well, obviously Japan to the UK, and obviously, you don't get you don't get paid holidays. So yes.
When was that? What tournament was that?
That was a long time ago. It was held after Namco won the pot closed down. I think it might have been 2000, just before I went to uni, so something like that.
Oh right, okay.
So it was some time ago. So again, exposing my damn age. But anyway.
Yeah.
Am I right in thinking? Because I heard that Daigo didn't get paid after Absolution 2004.
I was going to say,
I do remember him being very salty and him saying something about "I will never come back to the UK again."
Yeah. Did something similar happen on some other tournament with Professor Jones? I don't know if that's true.
Oh really?
But there's not a great rep for some of the tournaments that happen in the UK, to be honest, with some of the Europeans. I don't know. I don't know what's true and what's just hearsay, so you can't.
Gotcha. But anyway, going back to the original point. But the whole point is, if a person does come all the way from Japan to over here, he literally, again, they don't get any paid holidays. It's out of their own time. So you can imagine that's quite huge. So any Japanese to travel over here.
Well, Kareem actually came over from Holland.
For a
for a session at my flat. Not just for that. I think he was like visiting the UK anyway and doing a bit of sightseeing.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe that. I'm doing a session at my flat and Kareem flies over from Holland.
Oh, he's a great guy. He's kind of stopped playing now, but
he thought he was going to beat you as well, didn't he? Do you remember that?
Maybe, I don't know.
I think, did he?
He has beaten me before here.
Yeah.
I tried to wipe that day from my memory.
Actually, before we move on, I think we glossed over it. I think you beat my friend, Big Boss. So, what happened there then? Was it a blow up or?
I don't really remember. I don't know if that's worse. I don't remember
you
playing
said it was
him.
free like napkins at the drive-thru.
So Fei Long can eat Gar alive then?
No, actually, it's quite a bad matchup for Faye. But I mean, it's pretty bad. But I mean, if the Gar isn't used to playing a Faye, then you can just get in his face and take
Faye's one of those characters though. You get a couple of good guesses. His combos are so good.
Yeah. He does normal combos which do 65% without any super or anything, and they're not that hard to pull off.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it was a really good tournament. I did pretty well both years actually, so I really enjoyed it for that. It's just the icing on the cake. So I mean, the first year I got knocked out pretty quick out of one of the tournaments, which was the 3-character one. But the singles, I got third in the first year.
Wow, that is quite beastly. Especially as you say, there was Japanese talent there, so you actually faced the founders, the actual originator. I mean, obviously they didn't literally make the game, but they came from they came from the country of origin and are sort of entitled to sort of be good at the game because they made the bloody thing in the first place. Though, in all honesty, I think the Japanese are getting a taste of Britishness where everybody, where at the moment, the British are getting beaten by everyone at sports they invented.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think for that one it was only Kurahashi and Kusumondo, and they got first and second both times. So I played in the semi-finals. I played Kusu, and Ryu E Honda is pretty easy for Ryu. that didn't really seem to matter when I played Kusumondo. I mean,
you started up first, I think. You got first round.
Yeah, I think I did okay, but it's not like playing any other Honda. He's just really good. He's constantly poking and he's always jumping over your fireballs in a way that a normal Honda wouldn't. So it didn't really feel like I was playing Honda. I played a lot of Hondas, you know,
He's
over
got a
the
lot
years.
of weird tricks, because I know
He's
with
got a lot
100
of
hand
tricks.
slaps, you do 5 presses, don't you, with the same punch.
Oh,
and
yeah.
He does like 3, and he waits to see what you do, and then if you're blocking, he'll go for the extra couple to do
Yeah.
hand slaps, and if not, he goes for a jump in, and
I
he does
mean,
like the crouching hard kick, and then buffers an Ochio behind it, and he's got all sorts of tricks.
he does, yeah. His execution's immense. So I mean, just to be able to do 4 taps, like you're saying,
Yeah.
and then he waits to see what I do. So
Yeah.
you can't really bait him to jump because he's always just waiting on you. So it was just so hard, and yeah, he beat me. And then I played a French guy. I don't know if you've heard of him, Aero Rockman, who's one of the top French players probably.
I'd say so, yeah.
So I played his DJ, and he came 4th, and I came 3rd. So that was really awesome. And then
Hold up. Oh yeah. So how did you do well this year? That's what I'm really eager to find out. So
This year I did pretty well as well. So I mean, I got 4th in the singles, and I think the top 3. I'm trying to remember who the top 3 were. I think it was
Or singles.
Yeah, Kurahashi won, and I think he played Komoda in the final,
Yeah,
and I think it might have been Yaya who came 3rd, and then Kusumondo and Damdai came maybe 6th and 7th. So it was pretty good. I managed to beat Damdai in that one and got 4th. So I was quite happy with that. In the other one, in the 3 versus 3 tournament, I got 7th maybe, and I got knocked out by Damdai. So I got revenge on him in the other tournament.
Or the Star Cup one.
Yeah, on the Star Cup one.
Yeah.
And then in the teams one, I was teamed up with Damdai and Walmart. So Damdai, you know, one of the best US.
okay, this is kind of surreal. So you're teaming up with the person you beat, and he beat. What the?
Yeah.
What?
So I mean, it's like I'm saying, it was all really friendly until that. You know,
It's a pretty weird tournament. I'm sorry. It's just, I can't wrap my head around it. It's like, haha, I'm gonna kick your ass. Okay, come on, buddy, let's go.
yeah. That's what it was. I mean, the team tournament was just made out of the people who were playing each other in singles. So basically, everyone was against each other at 1 minute. And then on the Sunday, it was quite nice because it was the last day. You had a team tournament and everyone hung out. And I was with Damdai and Walmart. So yeah, Damdai, you know, and then Walmart was probably the best French player, one of the best European players.
That cheap German style.
Well, yeah. He went to Evo, Tournament of Legends. So he went there and he did really well there.
Apart from versus Man.
Yeah, he got beaten by Mao, the guy who won.
If you do a YouTube search for Walmart versus Mao, spelled M-A-O,
It's harsh.
that's one of the harshest ST matches I think I've ever watched in my life.
Yeah.
It's Honda versus Vega, and there's one round where I think it's about 50 seconds go by and neither of them have hit each other, and then Mao just gets him with a super straight away.
And that's practically it.
And that was, it's harsh because that's supposedly one of our best European players, and he kind of didn't do that well.
Well, I mean, Mao is incredible. Like, Claw is tough. Mao's one of the best Claws, one of the best players. So, I mean, yeah. I mean, it's tough, but Walmart is genuinely good. I mean, I think he got top 8.
He beat Alex Voss.
No, he didn't get top 8. He might have came like 10th or something, and he beat Alex Vi in the tournament there. So anyway, I teamed up with him, and we got beaten by Kurahashi's team in the semi-final. So we did all right.
Although a lot of websites only show top 3. I think that's another anti-ORF conspiracy again.
Actually, it's good. I mean, that match where we got beaten was pretty bad, really.
Oh God.
Because Damdai did best in the Star Cup, didn't he? So,
Damdai got 2nd, in the Star
so
Cup.
all the videos he's uploaded, or like favorited on his YouTube, all the Star Cup ones.
There's definitely some YouTube conspiracy going on.
That's the only tournament he cared about, so he wasn't bothered about losing the other ones or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, Damdai's an awesome guy, but he's like, he can bring out the excuses, you know, when he feels like he needs to.
Ah. Okay. Well, like I said, if you ever run a tournament, then I will. I'll be more than happy to sort of cap all the footage so that which a matter of fact I did ages ago when I saw you were kicking
Three
when
nils.
when you were playing what was it down at Stafford Showdown, I think the grand final, was it you were Rudy and it
Yeah.
was I think it was pretty one-sided.
Yeah.
No change there then. No.
Rudy's really.
Rudy is really good.
He's a really good player because he doesn't really play much. Birmingham guy. He doesn't really.
Does he strike his main game?
I think third strike. I think he won third strike at that. And did he win Street Fighter 4? Yeah, he won Street Fighter.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Well, so he won most of the tournaments there. And I remember at the end when people were giving the money out, and they gave him 3 envelopes because he'd won 3 of the 4 games or something. And then they gave me the ST one, and he was sat there looking pissed off, and he was like, "Oh, I just won that ST one. I just won that ST one." I was thinking, I felt sorry for everyone else who was in the tournament who lost to him, and he didn't give a shit about the prizes for the other ones. But I think he just loves ST, and a lot of people are like that. They play other games, and if they get into ST a bit, they love how raw it is and just how.
Yeah. I think for Birmingham you've got Gin is good, and
Yeah.
How to is probably a little bit better than you are.
Yeah.
Oh, Thunder Kicks. Shout out to How
After that upset.
I think that's the best £20 he's ever earned.
Yeah.
But there's quite a few players from Birmingham who are quite good.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
they all kind of play all sorts of games, don't they?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Damn shame. I guess we have nothing left to talk about. It's the end of the show, but like I said, so it's just time for some wrap ups then. So any shout outs you two would like to give?
Just shout outs to SMBF, I suppose, because they were quite cool guys. Made a lot of effort at Sodium Showdown. And then to all the guys who play ST, obviously, and just keep coming to tournaments. And I might see you there and we can get some games in.
Definitely.
Mr. Drexler.
Whoever he is. Okay. Well, anyway, like I said, thank you very much for coming. Like I said, I was General Skirmish. That was JPJ, and that was ORF. Like I said, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, guys. And
Thanks for having us on.
oh no problems. Because again, this is it's a very significant name, ST. And again, I was obviously gonna cover it, but there were so many new games and stuff on the horizon and random stuff.
This is going to be like your least downloaded podcast ever. I think
It's going to be 2 downloads, and that's me and Chris.
Really? I don't know. I reckon it'll do at least better than the Mortal Kombat one, which kind of annoyed me because that was actually a damn fine podcast. But again, it's just people and games.
Mortal Kombat game.
Yeah, I did a podcast with most of the scenes. If you go to my page. Oh, sorry. Wait a minute. We're still supposed to be wrapping this up. But anyway, like I said, thank you very much, guys. And this is the end of the People's Podcast. Let me just hit this off button.